Job chapter 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job. And that man was wholehearted and upright, and one that feared God, and shunned evil. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep, and 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she asses, and a very great household. So that this man was the greatest of all the children of the east. And his sons used to go and hold a feast in the house of each one upon his day, and they would send and invite their 3 sisters to eat and to drink with them. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them, and rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, It may be that my sons have sinned, and blasphemed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. Now it fell upon a day that the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest you? Then Satan answered the Lord, and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And the Lord said unto Satan, Hast you considered my servant Job, that there is none like unto him in the earth, a wholehearted and upright man, one that feareth God, and shunneth evil? Then Satan answered the Lord, and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? Hath not you made a hedge about him, and about his house, and about all that he hath, on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions are increased in the land. But put forth your hand now, and touch all that he hath. Surely he will blaspheme you to your face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in your power, only upon himself put not forth your hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. And it fell on a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, that there came a messenger unto Job, said, The oxen were plowing, and the asses feeding beside them. And the Sabeans made a raid, and took them away. Yes, they have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, A fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. While he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, The Chaldeans set themselves in 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have taken them away, yes, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell you. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, Your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in their eldest brother's house, and behold, there came a great wind from across the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and it fell upon the young people, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. Then Job rose and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down upon the ground, and worshipped. And he said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. For all this Job sinned not, nor ascribed aught unseemly to God. All right, we're going to go back up to verse 1, and we're going to start this book of Job, the book of Job there, and we will refer to him as Job or Job. He is the main character in the book, and a lot of people refer to Job as this one who went through the trials, the tribulations of God, where we'll find that even God does strengthen his servants, and we'll find out anytime we are under a trial of God, we will be strengthened. We will gather something from it. See, it does no good to leave one totally at rest. There's just weakness there. But we will pick it up here in verse 1. There was a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, And that man was wholehearted and upright, and one that feared God and shunned evil. So we got a man, and his name is Job. Job means this one who is hated, he's disliked, he's not thought much of. Well, we'll find mostly because he has great wealth, and he's probably one that he will find he is one who is obedient or observant to the law of God and the understandings that God give. And he shuns evil. He fears God and he shuns evil. He's wholehearted. He's upright in the understanding of God. This also would bring contention. Contention. There's always a little contention that comes from that. We'll find out that there's a lot of things always going on in the world, even around Job at that time, too. And there were born unto him 7 sons and 3 daughters. And there were these that were born unto Job. These would be those that come from these 7 sons. 7 sons are going to be to accomplish, to perfect, to put an end even to those that come forth. We'll find out a son is someone who, the word is ben, and it means someone who, it's a son. It could be a grandson, but it is a son, and it means someone who's going to cause to continue, to perpetuate. And it would be these 3 daughters, and it would be these that will cause to witness even these 3 daughters, these understandings, these ones who come forth from their mother with the understanding of their father. 3. His possessions also were 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she-asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the children of the East. So now, Job is a man of much possession, a man of wealth. He has 7,000 sheep, and these are many sheep. He has a great flock of sheep, even with 3,000 camels. These would be a great number of camels at that time, and 3 would be to complete the witness or to finish the fulfillment of those that pack these merchandising. And these 7,000 sheep also would be to accomplish and put an end to the fulfillment of the sheep. And these 500 yoke of oxen. These 500 yoke of oxen is these that are yoked together. That's what a yoke of oxen are. These 500 would be 1,000 oxen total. And it would be fulfillment, even this grace and the judgment of these that are yoked together. And these 500 she-asses, 500 because it's also there's grace and judgment we'll find for the she-asses, these feminine rules, these feminine understandings. And we'll find that Job had a great household. He had a large herd, large flock, many servants. And Job had become one of the greatest of all those that come forth from the east. And that's that way of enlightenment. 4. And his son used to go and hold feast in the house of each one upon his day. And they would send and invite their 3 sisters and eat and drink with them. So all of his sons, and these are the sons of Job, they would go forth, and on each one on his day, and this would each one in his understanding on even his birthday, that day he was born, that day he received his understanding. 5. And it was so, when the days of their feasting were gone about, that Job sent and sanctified them. And he rose up early in the morning, and offered burnt offerings according to the number of all them. For Job said, It may be that my sons have said, and blasphemed God in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. So, Job is going to, when the days of their feastings were gone about, and when each one had went about, we'll find that Job goes and makes an offering of atonement for each one of his sons, because just in case they've blasphemed God or in some way went astray, we'll find out, because each one may have exalted himself or in some way in the days of their feastings. So Job made a continual offering, because he was afraid that maybe even in their own understanding they could have done this. 6. Now it fell upon a day that such sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. Now it would fall on such a day that when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and I'm sure that these sons of God are those that go forth from God, to even those even the sons that would cause to perpetuate these spirits. Many will find out. I like to look at them as emotions of God. They came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them, and Satan was also there among these sons of God who came. Satan means the adversary, this one who comes against. He's always the opposite of the good. We could look at it that way. It's the even that emotion we could see that's always doing the comparison. We always have to have a comparison, something to compare it with, and that gives us a complete understanding. But we'll find out Satan is just one of the many sons of God. 7. And the Lord said unto Satan, Whence comest you? Then Satan answered the Lord and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. So the Lord asked Satan, the adversary, Where you been? And Satan answers the Lord, I've been going to and fro in the earth. I've been going back and forth to the earth and everything in it, all the flesh, everything that's in the earth. He goes to and fro, back and forth from it, from the presence of the Lord to the earth, and from walking up and down in it. 8. And the Lord said unto Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him in the earth, an wholehearted and upright man, one that feareth God and shunneth evil? And now the Lord wants to know if Satan has considered his servant Job, this one who's disliked. And because there's nobody like him in all the earth, he's upright. We'll find out. He keeps the law of God. He's the servant of God. He does everything the Lord has asked him to do. And he turns from evil every time he recognizes it. 9. Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? And now Satan has a response to God. His response is, doesn't Job fear God for nothing? He doesn't fear God. He will find he's going to make a statement that God has blessed Job greatly. In 10, Hath not you made a hedge about him and about his house and about all that he has on every side? You've blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions are increased in the land. Have not you made this hedge about Job, and all the way around his house, and all about everything that he has? You've blessed the work of his hands. You've multiplied what he's done, and his possessions are increased because of all the blessings of God. 11. Put forth your hand now, and touch all that he has. Surely he will blaspheme to your face. And Satan says, Put forth your hand, put forth your works now, and touch. This word touch is smite. Smite all that he has, and surely he will blasphemy. Blasphemy, we'll find this word blasphemy, I believe King James says, is cursed here. The word is barak. And we've heard of barak, barak. Barak is that blessed, to bless. It means to bless oneself, to exalt oneself, or to bow down even. That would be to be humbled even. And that's what it would be. He would be, and humble him now, and watch him turn back. 12. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he has is in your power. Only upon himself put not forth your hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So now God says to Satan, one of his sons, he says now, this would be the one who's an adversary. God gives him to contend. He may use him against those that transgress. Maybe God sends him down to cause them to humble themselves. Behold, all that he has is in your power. But just don't put forth your hand to hurt Job. Don't put forth your works to cause hurt Job. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Lord. So Satan, he now goes forth from the presence of the Lord with his mission. 13. And it fell on a day when his sons and his daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house, and this would be the sons of Job. They would be in their eldest brother's house now. They would begin their feastings, their cycles. They've gone to the eldest brother's house. It would be his day of birth, so to speak. And they was all gathered there in the eldest brother's house, eating and drinking wine, making merry. They was in their celebrations. 14. That there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding beside him. And now there comes this messenger, one who's come back. He has a message unto Job, and this one who's disliked. And he said, the oxen were plowing and the asses feeding besides them. The oxen were in the field. We was working, and the asses that was under these servants' hand was feeding. 15. And the Sabians made a raid and took them away. Yes, they have slain the servants in the edge of the sword, with the edge of the sword, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. So now, this messenger, this servant of Job, he tells Job that the Sabians have come, and these Sabians are those of the 7 oaths. These are the ones who, these 7 oaths, 7 is always to accomplish, to perfect this, and this oath is that vow, that would be the vow, and what this is refers to those that had made an agreement with Egypt. 16. While he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, a fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. And while he was yet speaking and telling Job that the Sabians have come, and they've took all the ox, and they've took all of his asses away, while he was yet telling him, there came another and said, a fire of God is fallen from heaven, and hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. And I only am escaped, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. So another servant, another messenger comes, telling Job, a fire of God is fallen from heaven. A fire, a judgment, a great judgment from God is fallen. It's come down from heaven. Even in all understanding, it hath burned up the sheep and the servants, and consumed them. 17. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another and said, the Chaldeans have set themselves in 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and have taken them away. Yes, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And I only am escaped alone to tell you. And while he was yet speaking, there came another servant, another messenger unto Job. Said, these Chaldeans, the Chaldeans have set themselves in 3 bands. And the Chaldeans, we know the Chaldeans, they're the clod breakers. They're supposed to be the wisest in the land. They've come, they've set themselves in 3 bands. These 3 bands, these 3 groups that maraud, they raid, and we will be able to. These will complete a witness. These groups that maraud, these that raid, and they have fell upon the camels, these merchants, and they have taken them away. Yes, and slain the servants with the edge of the sword. And they've slain all your servants that guard over your camels. Well, remember that Job had many camels, and I only am escaped alone. 18. And while he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. And we'll find, wow, there another servant comes, another one. And he says, your sons and your daughters were eating and drinking wine in the eldest brother's house. And we'll find out they were gathered together in their festivities. And 19, and behold, there came a great wind from across the wilderness, and smote the four corners of the house, and it fell upon the young people, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell you. And behold, now there's come a great wind, and this great wind, we'll find out, from the wilderness. This is that great force from God. It comes through across time, in great force, and even across that wilderness. That's the place where the words drive out. And they have smote the four corners of the house. Those four corners of the house, that's the work of God, we'll find out. Every place where they turn in their abodes. And it has fell upon the young people, and they are dead, and it has killed them all, and this I only am escaped alone to tell you. 20. Then Job rose and rent his mantle and shaved his head and fell down upon the ground and worshipped. So after Job had heard all this, in just a matter of moments, he stands up, he rents his mantle, his outer garment, and he shaves his head. That is to strip himself of all his glory, even all this which represents his understanding. And he falls down upon the ground and worshiped. He humbled himself before the Lord. 21. And he said, Naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And we'll find out Job has lost everything he has. Everything that he had, God has taken away. We'll find out the Lord has gifts, and the Lord takes away. Job makes a statement here, naked came I out of my mother's womb, and naked are we born in this world. And we are taught our nakedness, and we are taught, we find that written in the beginning when God asked Adam, who told you that you was naked? Because, see, that nakedness is to have knowledge of good and evil, to know the difference between right and wrong. And naked shall I return there, and naked shall I return. This is to say that without these garments that cover me, do hide my nakedness, so shall I return there. And that's the way it is. The Lord gives, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. We'll find out that Job blesses God, because we'll find out all the substance in this world, and the blessings are that which we would ascribe to God. Or 22. For all this Job sinned not, nor ascribed aught unseemly to God. And for all this that which it fell upon him, will find Job sinned not. He didn't transgress. He didn't turn back. He didn't go away from his understandings. We'll find out. Nor did he ascribe anything that was unseemly to God. He didn't. And this word ascribed is Nathan. And we've heard that word, Nathan, Nathan. That is to ascribe, to give, to associate any of these things of the evilness with God. We'll find out, because Job knew his heart was right before the Lord. We're going to have to pick this up in chapter 2. Turn and return.